few minutes, you'll hear the voice of the man who kidnapped Stephanie Slater. It's the voice of someone who may well have been involved in other major crimes, of course, including murder.
I was convinced it couldn't be him, but decided to video the programme so that when I came home on Thursday evening, I could listen to the voice and put it out of my mind completely.
I want to speak to Crimewatch, quickly, please.
Who's calling?
Never mind.
And then he said, never mind. Even when I think about it, I go cold.
Have you got the money?
Who's this, please?
Never mind. Have you got the money?
I just went hysterical. I knew immediately it was his voice. And I paced up and down the room 20 or 30 times, just shouting, it's him, it's him.
You'll get a message at 3 o'clock.
A message at 3 o'clock tomorrow?
Yeah, and do you want her to give you a password? If you tell me a word, I'll get her to repeat it to say that she's all right.
And I just wanted to stop him talking, because the more he talked, the more I knew it was him, and I was so angry at him, but because I know he's so intelligent and that he'd come to this, that he'd been stupid enough to get himself involved in anything as ridiculous as this.
This is the story of one of the most remarkable criminal inquiries of this century, a sequence of events that gripped the nation and was solved in a joint effort by the public and the police. This studio played a role in it. Almost everything you'll see has been recorded in the real locations, and most of those involved have taken part and helped recreate things in meticulous detail. But what follows isn't just a matter of record. It's an insight into the absurdity of the crime and the heroism of the people who were touched by it. On Friday the 12th of July 1991, a man in Gipton, Leeds, received a weird and unexpected letter from his girlfriend.
Dominic, help me, please. I've been kidnapped and I'm being held as a personal security until next Monday night. Please go and tell me Mum straight away. Mum, phone the police straight away and help me. I've not eaten anything, but I have been offered food. Feeling a bit sick, but I'm drinking 2 cups of tea per day. Mum, Dominic, help me. Love you all. Julie.
I couldn't understand the letter. It didn't make sense. Oh, would kidnap Julie. And who'd want her for ransom? Because I thought I'd have got a letter saying I want so many thousands of pounds. It just didn't make sense. It was all in a whirl.
Are you sure this is your daughter's handwriting?
The signature is. The way she signed Julie definitely is. But the way it's written, it's not like her at all. She wouldn't talk about things like personal security.
Right, first thing, let's get some details. What's your daughter's name?
Julie. Julie Dart.
I just went all over. Went everywhere looking for her. Must have covered Leeds, I don't know how many times. You know, on a night we'd go in pubs again. Even writing in photographs. You know, saying, have you seen Julie Dart? Do you know Julie Dart? You know, people say, oh yeah, know Julie. Have you seen her? No, we haven't seen her for about a week.
That same Friday, there was a letter addressed to Leeds City Police, a force that's been called West Yorkshire for almost 20 years.
It says a prostitute has been kidnapped from the Chapeltown area and she'll be killed if a ransom of £140,000 isn't paid by, would you believe it, the Leeds City Police. But I thought I'd better check anyway to see if you'd had any girls reported missing.
The letter threatened to firebomb a city centre store, as well as murdering the kidnapped prostitute. Since Chapeltown was mentioned, it was taken first to the Vice Squad there. At around the same time, though coincidentally and so far unconnected, the letter from Julie Dart was dispatched there too. Julie had recently told people she worked nights at a hospital, but inquiries had revealed they'd never heard of her. On a detective's hunch, the Vice Squad was consulted on the Julie Dart inquiry too.
The link between the 2 letters was made at Chapeltown Police Station. They were both postmarked Huntingdon and were sent on the same day. Although Julie wasn't known to the Vice Squad, witnesses had been found who had seen her working in the red light area. It was at that point that we realised that the letters had to be taken seriously.
Do you remember the code word?
Yeah, it's smack.
OK, now when he calls, just try to get proof of life, and if he approaches you, just hand in the money. Is that clear?
Yeah.
The Regional Crime Squad ran an operation precisely as the letter instructed.
Next Tuesday, 16th of July, a WPC will drive to Birmingham New Street Station with the money and await a phone call at the phone terminal in the waiting room on platform 9. She must wear a lightish blue skirt with the money in a shoulder bag.
Courier now arriving at location.
She must be there by 6 p.m. and await the call at 7 p.m. She will then be given the location of the next phone call.
Hello? Hello?
The courier's replaced the receiver.
The courier waited for 20 minutes, but there were no further phone calls, so the operation was abandoned. We'd done everything that the blackmailer had asked, and all we could do now was to wait for him to make the next move.
It was a week after the letters had arrived and 90 miles away. The body, found by farmers tied in a sheet, was badly decomposed, but by the next day it was identified as Julie. She'd been dumped beside a long-abandoned railway line. Her body was carefully removed to Grantham for examination by a pathologist, Professor Stephen Jones.
My preliminary examination of the body did not reveal a positive cause of death. There were some injuries to the scalp. There was one at the back of the scalp, and there was one to the left, above the left ear. And underneath that injury, there was a fracture of the skull. Now, these injuries were consistent with being caused by an instrument such as a hammer, but they were by no means convincing causes of death.
The body's wrapping provided two important clues for forensic scientists at Wetherby.
When we took tapings from the sheet, we recovered a lot of extraneous fibres, in particular yellow wool and brown nylon fibres, which looked to have come from a mustard-coloured carpet. The rope was unusual, not a colour commonly found or used in this country, and when I examined it under the microscope, I was able to pick off fibres similar to those which we'd recovered from the sheet. And in particular, there were some tufts of fibres that appeared to have come from the same mustard-coloured carpet, and it appeared most likely that they would have been transferred when the body was being wrapped up. So if the police could find where this had happened, then hopefully we would be able to find a source for the mustard-coloured carpet fibres and hence provide a significant forensic link.
Words will never be able to express my regret that Julie Dart had to be killed, but I did warn what would happen if anything went wrong. I still require the same monies as before, and if you want to avoid any further prostitutes' lives, place an ad in the personal column of the Sun to read, "Let's try again for Julie's sake."
In the letter there were details of how Julie had died. 3 blows to the back of the head and strangled. Strangulation had not been released to the press, but when the pathologist looked again at the body, he confirmed that's how Julie had died, so there was no doubt that the writer of the letter was the killer and was prepared to kill again.
Three days after the ad, another letter came. This one was handwritten, acknowledged seeing the advertisement, warned another hostage would be taken, and set another date for the handover of money. Yet the whole thing seemed to be a game. There were even betting odds on who would win. In a bid to understand the killer more, detectives sought advice from a psychologist.
The body was found here, at the village of Easton near Grantham, on the 19th of July, alongside a disused railway track which leads to the A1 running north.
Right. I would like a copy of each letter.
Paul Britton works with criminals in hospitals and prisons and knows how they think and operate.
Based on my initial examination of the materials, I felt that they were dealing with a complex man, a very careful planner. He was likely to be aged in the middle years, late 40s, early 50s, that educationally he would be at least a secondary level, but not degree level. He would have bootstrapped himself along the way. I thought that occupationally he would have a high level of technical knowledge, but his technical skills wouldn't be at quite the same level. It was very clear that he was a complex games player. He wanted to be viewed and taken very seriously by the police service. He wanted them to engage him as a high-level adversary, and it was quite clear that he was going to kill again unless he was caught, and it was very important they took this very, very seriously.
Bravo 1 to control the couriers in and into the phone box.
Hello, Julie speaking.
Is a message being received?
Look, if you're listening to me, I haven't been able to understand a word you've said.
Seems to be struggling with the message.
When the telephone call came through, I immediately realised it was a tape recording. And because of the background noise, I just couldn't understand what was being said. And the only word that I could make out was services. I was extremely frustrated and obviously very concerned as well for the fact that this man had obviously killed once. And because I had not got the instructions, there was every chance that he might kill again.
We have received another letter, this one postmarked Coventry. It says, "No go last night, was not free Monday afternoon for make-up to get hostage Monday evening. Your WPC should have been able to hear. I've tried it on an extension." It then goes on, "Next week I will definitely be free all Monday and Tuesday, so we'll have no problem with hostage or incendiary. Bye, ring Tuesday." Could not make it Tuesday evening due to the fact there was no suitable hostage in the Huddersfield red light area on Monday evening. The phone call will be made to the usual box on Wednesday the 14th of August at 8:15 p.m. This will be the last time you will receive a call at the usual location. Should anything go wrong, you will not then be given the location of the incendiary device or the prostitute's body.
Hello, Julie speaking.
I'm going to have to tell you where to go because my tape recorder's broken.
Yes?
I've taken a hostage. Her name is Sarah Davies. I abducted her last night. She lives at Workman Gardens in Ipswich.
Sarah Davies from Workman Gardens?
That's right.
The kidnapper's told her that he's taken another hostage.
He's given details. Sarah Davis, Walkman Gardens, Ipswich. So far?
Control to 6 so far.
Now, I want you to take the M1 northbound to junction 40, not junction 39, then take the A638 to Wakefield.
Did you say the A633?
No, take the A638 to Wakefield. At 1/8 of a mile along the way on your right-hand side, there's a phone box by a bus stop with a green. Be there by 9:45.
Driving up the motorway, I was obviously very, very elated. We were actually getting somewhere, that this man had made contact, and that we were so very, very close in capturing him. We'd had all the previous frustrations of no phone calls and not being able to understand messages. But at this point, I really felt sure we were going to capture him.
Control to the team. The courier's on the A638 towards Wakefield to stop at the telephone kiosk.
Hello?
Is that Julie speaking?
Yes, it is.
Hello, it's me again. Problems. I'll have to ring you back in half an hour.
So you're going to ring back on this number?
Yes, I will.
Right, OK. Hello? 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 I realised at that point that the cradle had jammed, so I had to thump the actual cradle to release it, by which time the collar had cleared. So waited then for another half an hour, just hoping that he would ring back, but the call just never came. And my feelings were totally... I was just totally shattered and upset by the fact that yet again we'd not reached a conclusion.
But on the plus side, we could find no evidence of a Sarah Davies who had gone missing, and we formed the opinion that this was an invention on the part of the kidnapper to put the police under more pressure.
Next day, on the M1, under a disused railway bridge, 3 junctions down from where the phone box had jammed the previous evening.
My workmate found it looks a bit suspicious to me.
It just looks like a white painted brick and a tin can. It's just the light that's on the tin can that makes someone suspicious. Has anybody moved at all?
In fact, it was completely harmless, but it was blown up to make sure. Stuck onto the brick was a stencilled message.
South Yorkshire Police circulated details on the note, and it was quite obvious that this was our man. When we visited the scene, we realised that this was where he was going to get the money. We did our own reconstruction. His plan was quite simple. At the first bridge, the WPC would read the note. It told her to place the device on the dashboard of the car and drive to the second bridge. He was going to stand on top of the bridge and lower a dog lead for the WPC to attach the bundle of money to. He was then going to haul the money up and make good his escape from the lane at the top of the embankment. In the very first letter, the kidnapper had drawn a picture of a bundle with a loop attached and mentioned attaching a dog lead.
10 days later, in Barnsley, on the Dodworth Road that leads to the M1, this man, Alan Moore, went to ring a friend. It was the missing link, with instructions on how to find the white brick beside the motorway.
Hello there.
Hi, it's a lettuce for you.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, at Millgarth Police Station, back in Leeds...
The game's now abandoned. You'll have to file your papers until I try again. There was no hostage or device. I didn't need to. Following Julie's death, you'd cooperate in anything I wanted. For your records, Julie's body was kept in a wheelie bin for 2 very hot days, which is why the body deteriorated so quickly.
There were 3 things that were important at that time. The first was that the methodology that the offender would use was now known, quite clear about that. The second was that there was likely to be a gap before he came back. And the third, and probably the most important, was that he would certainly come back. He couldn't leave it alone.
The brick was found on the 15th of August on the motorway, and it went to forensic. They established it was a white painted blue brick. It was given to me to see if I could establish its origin, and I visited a number of agencies and soon found out that it was very rare, and that's where Andy Biggs came in.
Measuring the dimensions and geometry of the brick, we were able to establish it was extremely unusual in as far as the dimensions didn't conform to normal brick sizes. Samples were taken for chemical and mineralogical analysis, and that told us that the brick had been manufactured from a particular clay type, that it had come from one quarry in Newcastle-under-Lyme, and that one company had manufactured that product. By putting all these factors together, we were able to establish that it was an extremely rare brick. It was literally a 1 in a million product, just like having a penny black.
While the brick was being checked in Staffordshire, forensic scientists at Wetherby were trying to reconstruct the container that had been blown up as a suspected bomb. It too had a rare feature. It was made of plastic, but had been coated with an unusual silver paint.
A police officer who kept tropical fish recognised the top and metal rim as having come from a fish food container. It was then possible to compare what we'd been able to reconstruct with a genuine fish food container, and they were indistinguishable.
The only other clues they had to work on were the letters. They'd been posted from Yorkshire and around the Midlands, so the sender obviously had time to travel, and several words were consistently misspelt. The evidence was sent to a forensic document examiner in Birmingham.
The first 2 letters were typewritten and showed considerable damage to the typeface. For example, the capital letter P had its top left serif missing. The 3rd and 4th letters were handwritten. The handwriting on them looked odd and appeared to have been disguised. There were features of the handwriting, however, which made me believe that if the police found the person responsible for the letters, I would be able to identify him from his handwriting.
We didn't hear from him for quite a while, but we were always sure he would come back. And sure enough, in October...
As you are nowhere near on my tail, the time has come to collect my £140,000 from you. On Wednesday the 21st of October, the same WPC will be at the phone box on platform 3 of Carlisle Station,
At the same time, and quite unknown to the Julie Dart inquiry, a similar threatening letter was sent to British Rail.
Unless we receive a cash payment of £200,000, we shall cause the derailment of an express train. On Wednesday the 21st of October, 2 female employees of BR must be at Crewe Station at 3 p.m.
Detective Chief Superintendent Pat Fleming of the Met was running the railway threat inquiry and was seeking links with other blackmail cases, including that involving Julie Dart. A West Yorkshire detective, Eddie Hemsley, helped compare the letters.
This is a copy of the British Rail extortion letter, which I've had a chance to compare with the Dart letters. Immediately you'll see there are a number of similar points. Firstly, the writer has made use of a stencil, and that stenciling is underlined, as in the Dart inquiry. There is a request by the writer for money to be packaged in a similar fashion to that in the Dart inquiry. Again, the writer has made use of a diagram, and there is use of some technical language. However, the real clinching factor as far as I'm concerned is that in both cases a WPC has been instructed to attend a telephone kiosk on a railway station platform as the first point of contact for the courier.
We decided that it would be not to our advantage to run the operation in respect of British Rail on the same day that he was making a ransom demand against the Julie Dart team. Both would have involved extremely large surveillance, very close together with all the inherent dangers. So we decided to defer our operation, not to refuse him payment, but to defer the operation.
Congratulations. You have now qualified for retribution. Within a week or so, a small penalty will be imposed in the form of the removal of an electric loco pantograph, and with a little luck, the downing of a section of line.
With a little luck was a phrase the blackmailer used often in different letters, but this time the luck was with British Rail. A chunk of stone had been dangled from a bridge on the West Coast main line in Staffordshire.
Although there were no reports of any damage to trains, what he'd done was incredibly dangerous and could have caused severe damage to the train or the train driver. We were left wondering, what on earth is this man going to do next?
Stephanie, are you going to come and do that measure up with St Calshot Road?
I'm not sure if I can. I've got a viewing at 10:30.
Oh, is that the house in Turnberry Road?
Yeah, that's right. 153. For that chap who was on the phone last week.
Oh, yeah.
Well, shall I come and do the measure up with you, Kevin?
Is that okay, Steph?
Yeah, fine. I'll see you later.
Okay, then. So we better get moving. See you later.
Mr. Southall?
Yes.
Sorry I'm late. Would you like to come inside? This is the living room. There are French windows leading off into the garden and a back door in the kitchen.
Have you got the key to the back door?
No, sorry, I didn't bring them with me. Would you like to see upstairs?
Yes, please.
Is all upstairs double glazed?
Yes, I think so.
Has the house ever been rented out?
I'm really not sure.
Because it's a shame tenants never look after a property. What's that up there?
Hello, Walsall Road Police.
Hello, my name's Watts. I'm the manager of Shipway's estate agent.
Yes, how can I help you?
Well, it's a bit strange, actually. One of our girls seems to have gone missing.
How do you mean, missing?
Well, she went to show somebody on the property, and we haven't seen any sign of her since. But the strange thing is, a man's just phoned up demanding money and threatening to kill her if we don't cooperate.
Let me be clear, are you saying that one of your employees has been kidnapped?
Yes.
What's her name?
Stephanie Slater.
It was about midday when he called.
He came into the office about 2 weeks ago.
He said he was in charge. I told him I was.
Then he wrote us this letter making an offer on a house in Turnberry Road. Yeah.
Then he said, listen, Stephanie Slater's been kidnapped. There's a ransom in the post tomorrow. Contact anyone. And she'll die?
Nothing.
Let's check upstairs.
Can you tell me what happened next?
Yeah, when we arrived at the house, the front door was slightly open and Steph's car was parked outside. When we opened the door, we found the keys just inside, and if you just have a look just there, it looks like there's some blood on there.
Maria? This looks like blood here.
Kidnaps are an extremely rare offence, aren't they, thankfully? I mean, I think I've only known 3 in 28 years in the police force. We get lots of different hoaxes in relation to this sort of offence. And at the beginning of this inquiry, uniformed officers were sent to the scene. That was definitely a mistake. We recognised that very, very quickly. Withdrew the officers from the scene and replaced them with covert officers so that we wouldn't prejudice Stephanie's life or the inquiry in general.
When I press these 2 buttons, the machine will record every telephone call that comes into the office, from when you pick the receiver up to when you put the receiver down.
So we don't need to touch it once it's set?
Not at all.
Right.
I don't really know that much about her, because she's been with the company such a short period of time.
The overriding thing is to stay as calm as possible and to make yourself some note as to what's being said.
Shipways, can I help you?
Right, so get in touch with you and make as many notes as possible.
That's right, yeah.
Hello? 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 That was him. He just said Stephanie's dropped her keys in the hall and to lock up.
There have now been 2 telephone calls from the kidnapper to Shipway's estate agents, and it appears he is prepared to negotiate. We can therefore only presume that Stephanie, at this time, is alive and well. Her employers, Shipways, are working with us 100% and have agreed to put up the ransom money. The press have been informed and have agreed not to publish anything until Stephanie is found safe and alive. It is vital that we do not alert the kidnapper that we are involved. I must re-emphasise to you that Stephanie's life may depend on this.
The kidnapper had warned there'd be instructions in the post.
It's the bag that covers Water Road.
To give themselves precious extra hours, detectives got rare consent to intercept the mail for Shipways.
Looks like it, John.
Yeah, that's it.
This is Stephanie Slater. The time is 11:45. I can assure you I'm okay and unharmed. Providing these instructions are carried out, I will be released on Friday the 31st of January. For next Wednesday you will need an ordnance survey map. Number 103 Blackburn and Burnley. Kevin Watts must be the person to act as courier and use his car. Next Wednesday at every point where instructions are given, the boot of the car must be opened for at least 30 seconds. The money must not be marked in any way whatsoever, or contain any device whatsoever.
Is that your daughter's voice?
Oh, yes. That's Stephanie.
Unbelievable. Well, we just could not, it would not register, really, as such, as she'd been kidnapped. And it just hasn't happened to normal people. Like I class myself a working class person. You always class these things in kidnapping or abductions into business people or film stars or people in the eye in the light of people in the eye up. And when they asked for money, we said to the police, we said, well, the only thing we can offer you, if they want money off us, is their property, is the house. They said, you'll have to sell the house. That's all we've got. That's all we can give you. And the police said, in no way will it affect you in any case in money. If there's money required, it will be found.
What was the added dimension to this particular kidnapping was the fact that at a very early stage we recognised there may be a link with the Julie Dart murder, and therefore we're not only dealing with a kidnapping, but a kidnapping by a man who'd already killed previously.
Accordingly, a first step was to check quietly, with dog handlers in plain clothes, that Stephanie hadn't been murdered and left in Great Bar where she'd been kidnapped. At the same time, police started discreet house-to-house inquiries, very discreet in case the kidnapper saw or heard what was happening and took retribution.
We're investigating a break-in just up the road. It happened between 10 and midday on Wednesday, and I was wondering if you'd noticed anything unusual recently.
No, not really.
Did you see any strange people or cars?
I saw a red van in the right-of-way out at the back of the house. It was revving up and half-turning, and then I saw a sign on the side which said, blocked and broken drains. I was wondering what, we'd got the drains broke.
On the way to the shops, I saw a man standing outside 153. On the way back from the shops, I noticed he was still there. He was quite sure of himself until he noticed I was actually watching him. He didn't want me to see his face.
How would you describe the man?
Early 50s. About 5'2". He was wearing a coat. On the left-hand side of the coat, he had a badge.
There were many inquiries going on. The intelligence cell was sifting through all sorts of bits of information that were coming in. There were covert house-to-house inquiries being carried out near the scene of Turnberry Road and Shipways itself. I had officers in various parts of the country checking on kidnappers, their associates, people who may have served in prison with them, people who had a grudge. But the secrecy of the inquiry tended to hamper us. It was like working with one hand tied behind your back. We were very much in the hands of the kidnapper and really waiting for him to make the next.
Okay, Warren, take your time.
Hello, Slaters?
Is it Slater?
It is.
Just listen.
Hello, Stephanie here.
Steph? Is
They
that you?
told me to make a message to you, just to let you know that I'm all right. I'm unharmed. I happened to see West Bromwich Albion lost yesterday to Swansea 3-2. I want you to know I love you and not to worry too much. And whatever the outcome, I'll always love you. Look after the cat for me.
What's happened? Is she all right? She's alive. She's alive. She's all right, love.
Betty was over the moon, was the tonic to her to know. And I said, that's definitely today. I said, that recording was done today, Sunday. Of course, the message she gave was yesterday's match. And the moment she said yesterday, she must have been talking that day, which was Sunday.
Police felt they had no option but to prepare a ransom. As agreed, it was put up by Stephanie's employers. But should they also accede to the kidnapper's demand that her boss, Kevin Watts, should be the courier?
They simply asked whether I would be willing to be the courier. And I said yes, anything to ensure the safe release of Stephanie.
I was deeply concerned and always was concerned. A, for the safety of the courier, Kevin Watts, and B, secondly, for his ability to respond in a crisis situation. Past experience has shown that even police officers placed under such pressure fail to come through. But we had to bear in mind all the evidence that was available to us. The kidnapper had visited Shipways. We believe he'd seen Kevin Watts, could identify him. We had been practising and training with Kevin Watts right from the start. And we'd watched him develop, grow stronger, grow confident in our ability to safeguard him.
They spent an awful lot of time with me, coaching me, putting me really in the right mental frame of mind to cope with the stresses and strains that I would endure during that evening.
We have a plan involving up to 1,000 police officers. We'll use number 1 and number 3 regional crime squads, as well as our own. As you know, he's pointed us in the direction of Blackburn and Burnley, but we know he's got links with Yorkshire and with Lincolnshire. So we need to be prepared to travel anywhere in the country, particularly the north. If we use Watts as the courier, he'll have a microphone and we'll keep him under surveillance wherever he travels.
What about the final drop-off point, Mick? What options can you give us there?
There are only 2 options. The first one is to arrest him as he drops the money off. The second, and a very risky one, is to keep him under surveillance in the hope that we can then recover the money, arrest him and release Stephanie Slater. But that's a tremendous risk. But we have to remember, 99% certain this man has already killed once, and we should arrest him at the earliest opportunity.
OK, we'll take him at the drop.
My wife and family were at the door waving me off. I wrote the letters in the air, "I love you," to my wife. It never crossed my mind that I wouldn't see my wife again. I had every confidence that the police on the evening, as well as myself, would make sure that I returned safely.
I shut the door and I burst into tears. I just cried. And then I heard the children upstairs, so I had to pick myself up and carry on.
Kevin Watts is going to deliver the money later today. He's at this very moment waiting to find out exactly where he's going to be sent. You officers here will be with me, and you must be prepared to travel anywhere in the country.
Hello?
Hello, Kevin Watts?
Speaking.
Have you got it?
Yes, I have.
You go to Glossop Station.
Glossop. Could you spell that, please?
Glossop, west of Manchester.
West of Manchester.
There's a telephone box inside the entrance hall, only one.
Telephone box inside entrance hall.
And you'll get a further message at 7 o'clock.
7 p.m.
If anything goes wrong and you don't make it there, I want you there as soon as you can.
OK.
If anything goes wrong, you ring your office up. It's an hour and a half journey and it's sunny. I'm in Glossop now and it's sunny here. You get there for 7 o'clock.
OK.
Kevin Watts is on the way. Number 1 and number 3 regional crime squad control rooms are up and running. We're just waiting to see what happens.
Which route's he taken?
Presently going up the M6 towards Manchester.
The teams were all standing by at Nechells Green Police Station, all ready to go at a minute's notice. I mean, you could actually taste the tenseness in the officers' faces. I mean, the atmosphere was absolutely electric.
Courier's vehicle now arriving at Glossop Station.
Courier out of vehicle.
How am I going to get home?
How do you mean?
My indicators have broken down and I don't know what to do.
I don't know.
I suppose I'll just have to use hand signals.
I've been told that I may be approached by people by way of a test. So at that time, in view of the fact that it was such an unusual type of conversation, something you wouldn't come across at all in a normal day, I thought that quite possibly that she was involved with it. And it threw me completely.
Kevin Watts.
Yes?
You leave the station, go right, go down to the crossroads. You'll see a telephone box. Inside you'll find a message underneath the parcel shelf, which will contain instructions.
Courier's receiving your call now. Receive control.
Yes, thanks for that, 3-4.
Get on to Nechells and update them with that, will you?
Yes, sir. Kevin has driven to Glossop. He's received a telephone call there, which has directed him down to another telephone box about 200 yards away down the road, where he's been told he'll receive a written message.
Get the route.
Says take B6105, which is the road outside the station, uphill. It's the road up there. And continue until joining I628.
Over the top of the Pennines to Yorkshire, just southwest of Barnsley, he's to turn right on the 629 and find another message in a telephone box about 1.5 miles down that road.
Stay in care, enter box at exactly 7:40 p.m. Warning, enter box's only times given. At some time you'll be observed.
It's the courier's been sent to Dodsworth, which is near Barnsley. He's got to go to a phone box at 4 Lanes End. We're with him. It's imperative that there's no other police action or any police presence in that area.
When I left the main town centre, within 1 minute, fog came down and I just couldn't see further than 5 or 6 feet in front of the car. I had no idea of how long I had to travel, so I got it in my mind that it was starting to get very late.
OK, I got that. Hang on. He's getting really worried at the moment. The fog's on him right down.
Just tell him to keep calm, follow the directions.
Yeah.
The courier has arrived at the telephone kiosk, 4 Lane End, but we've got problems with communications and he's breaking up. Receive control.
The telephone box was illuminated. It was very isolated. There was fog swirling around it. I decided that I would get into the box and out as quickly as possible.
Got the note. It says, this route will show if you are being followed.
We've lost contact with the courier. His mic's gone completely dead. Receive control.
Trevor, put the contingency plan into operation.
Nick, all crews who've had a loss, hold the locations and report immediately any visual or radio contact with the courier.
The message said to turn around, to turn right 50 yards up on the right-hand side, to turn left about 100 yards on the left-hand side, down a bridle path. When I turned down the bridle path, the first thing I saw was a shipway sign, which had been made up. It was a little wooden stake in the ground. I thought, he's waiting for me at the end of this track. This is it. You know, this is the crunch. Due to the foggy conditions and the way that he was starting to twist my mind, I was completely oblivious to the fact that communications may have broken down. From my point of view, I knew that there was the possibility that they would black out any sort of communication with me if this was going to be the point whereby the drop was going to be taken. I've been told to look for a cone. It also said to me that I was to replace the money in the bag that was by the cone. Because of the fog, there's walls all the way around. He could have just stepped out and touched me, and I wouldn't know until he was on top of me. I was extremely, extremely fine. You couldn't put it into words how I felt at that point. I was just totally alone with him.
Message says, go to end of line, turn left back to roundabout, A6289, turn right, phone box 3.5 miles, LHS. Oh, left-hand side. Message typed under shelf, 15 minutes allowed.
Started to carry on down the road, and the walls then started to get higher. And in the middle of the bridle path was a cone asking me to stop.
Look. Stop. 60 seconds allowed. On wall by 4 sign, would try. Put money and bag on tray. If buzzer does not sound, leave money there. Remove car in front of car and go. Money will not be collected until you have left.
At that time, I was just going along with exactly what he was saying. I wasn't in control of my own mind. He was. The feelings I had were undescribable. I understand afterwards there was actually a message on the train, which I didn't pick up. Purely and simply is that I was in that much of a panic. I just wanted to get out of there.
Everything had been going well until we had the technical breakdown with the microphone. We lost Kevin for a short period, a crucial time. When we found him again, we realised the money had been dropped. I think at that particular time, knowing the money had been dropped, thinking that the kidnapper had then probably escaped, and the realisation that we still didn't know whether Stephanie was going to be released was safe, was probably one of the worst moments of my career.
There was a tremendous desire to flood the area with police officers. To do that would have caused tremendous risk to Stephanie. Our original plan had been to give him no excuse to kill Stephanie, and we stuck to that original plan.
Well, when I arrived at Warren and Betty's house, I soon became aware that things hadn't gone as well as we would have hoped, and it was obvious it was going to be a difficult evening. There would need to be a lot of reassurance and support given to Warren and Betty, and I was sort of preparing myself for that. Well, later that evening, I went upstairs to use the toilet, and I just happened to pick probably the wrong moment. There was a banging and a ringing, and obviously concerned me greatly, and I'm desperately trying to get back into my trousers, and I could hear Warren heading for the door downstairs, and I'm shouting to him,
"Warren, leave it, I'll get it!"
Is this...
It's Stephanie!
Stephanie, Warren!
Oh, Barry! Oh, Barry, Betty, she's back!
Come on,
Oh, Warren, please remember! And Adrian didn't realise who it was, and it was only me brushing Adrian aside, and I said, "It's Stephanie." And we just grabbed her and pulled her in the house. And Adrian was as dumbstruck as I was. He just couldn't believe it.
OK, Warren, Betty, please don't touch her for the moment, please. In a minute, Warren, back towards the sofa.
I was just in a whirl. I just couldn't believe what was going on. And Betty run down the stairs, and we just couldn't believe it. We just couldn't believe she was there. She was in the house. And she couldn't believe it herself, because she couldn't see. She couldn't focus. We got the lights on.
Right, turn round. OK, have a sit down, Warren, please, remember what we said. OK, Stephanie, Betty, please, don't touch her, just for the moment, you can in a minute.
You could hear the relief in their voices, and they just wanted to hold their daughter. And as I sort of shepherded her into the house, I'm desperately trying to say to them, "Look, I know you want to hug her, but please can you leave it for a little while, because we obviously wanted to recover her clothing for any examination later on."
And she was pinching herself. Just digging and in me. She was putting her nails, and that was really going in. And that was... She just couldn't believe she was home. She was just making sure. Even then, she couldn't believe she was in the house, you know.
Stephanie was physically OK, but as was planned, was taken, for the sake of peace and quiet, to a private hospital where she could be cared for and debriefed.
The bleep went off just after about 12:15. When I read the message and it said, "Stephanie's back safe and well," I mean, I just couldn't believe that. It seemed to be... It just seemed to be untrue, basically, at the end of the day. I mean, I was extremely happy, and I thought, right, and now the inquiry really starts. If she's back safe and well, we've got something to work to. And at long last, he wasn't calling the shots, the kidnapper. We were going to call the shots from the following morning.
Last night, I saw a metro car pull up outside my house. After a while, somebody got out the car, which looks like a girl, backwards. And she looked sort of drunk. She put her head back in the car, spoke to whoever it was. The door shut, And after a while, she sort of staggered round and headed back down towards the road, running with her hands dragging all over the place.
What can you tell us about the car?
I can tell you a lot because I'm a paint sprayer. It was a vermilion red in colour, which is an orangey red. And
it was a Metro, you said?
Metro, a mini Metro, yes, of the early type Metro.
No, chaps, what we got?
Police had found where Kevin Watts had dropped the money. The walls Kevin had seen round him in the fog turned out to be the parapets of a railway bridge. The extortionist had been below on the bed of an abandoned railway line, known as the Dove Valley Trail. It runs to another bridge 3 miles away, the one where in the Julie Dart case the painted brick and strange container had been found. Here again they found a dummy device with silver paint on it. This time, though, instead of a plan to hoist the money up, a length of washing line was used to pull it down.
The kidnapper of the estate agent Stephanie Slater is one of Britain's most dangerous men, according to the policemen leading the hunt for him. They're combining their search with that for the killer of Leeds teenager Julie Dart because of similarities in the two cases.
If you ask me on a scale of 10, I would say 9 out of 10, I'm sure they're linked.
The news blackout had ended, and Tom Cook then took over the huge combined inquiry. He quickly decided not to give the journalists his strongest clue, at least not yet, the tapes of the kidnapper's voice. There were lessons from the Yorkshire Ripper case. Thousands of names might be suggested by members of the public. Suspects would need to be prioritised. First, detectives had to talk to Stephanie, discover gently all the tiny details she could give, and build a checklist in preparation for a big appeal. 3 WPCs had been well trained for the at times emotional debriefing.
He bound my hands and legs with something like washing line. And he blindfolded me and gagged me. And then he guided me out to his car. During the journey, he made me lie in the passenger seat with a rope across my neck and a coat over my head. And he also held a knife against my stomach. Sometime in the evening, the car turned off the road onto a dirt track, which seemed to slope down, and at the bottom it bore to the right. I was really disorientated, but I remember the car stopping, and then...
No screaming. Not that anybody's going to hear you out here.
I got the feeling he wanted me to think we were out in the middle of nowhere. I heard the sound of keys rattling, and then a heavy door being pulled open a little way. I remember as I entered the building, the surface of the floor changed from loose dirt to stone. I was convinced I was going to die inside that building.
You're all right. Keep walking. Come on, sit down. Right, you're going to have to change your clothes. I've got some others for you to wear.
He gave me a pullover and a cardigan, a pair of denim jeans, and an old pair of socks to put on. Then he gave me back my boots, and he put a sock on each of my hands to protect me from the pressure of the handcuffs. Then he asked if I would like fish and chips for my tea. I wasn't hungry, but I thought I ought to eat something, so I said I liked chips, and he told me to be quiet and went out.
Did you hear him drive away?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he didn't use his car.
Can you remember how long he was gone?
I would say about 10, 15 minutes. When he came back, he manoeuvred me onto a mattress and gave me the chips.
Steph, this might sound really trivial, but it's really important that we know as much about those chips as is possible.
Well, they were definitely chip shop chips. And they were very hot.
Is that all you want?
I'm not hungry.
You don't want any more?
No.
I hope you're not claustrophobic.
No, not really.
Right, you're going to bed now. Come on. Lie down. That's it. Now shuffle into this hole. Imagine it's a sleeping bag. So push yourself forward. Go on, go on.
I can't get down anymore.
You should be able to. I can get down it. There are boulders above you, and if you pull on them, they'll fall down and crush you. So keep still. When I open this door, I want to see the gag and the blindfold still on you. I can't understand why you're so calm.
But I wasn't. I was terrified. And that night, I was in such terrible pain, all up my back. And it was cold, so bitterly cold. And all through the night, I kept seeing things in my mind. I'm not normally a religious person, but I even saw an image of Christ in front of me. I thought I was dying. At one point, I thought I was dead.
Steph is an extraordinary woman, and she was extremely easy to interview, very cooperative, and her recall ability was unbelievable. She was able to remember things in such detail and with such accuracy, and her story never wavered throughout.
Steph, can you try and remember what happened the next morning? If it gets too much, just say and we'll stop.
I remember waking to the sound of a radio. A few minutes later, he arrived and came to get me out of the box. I could hardly move. I was in so much pain. And I think he was genuinely surprised to find me in such a terrible state.
What's the matter?
I can't move. I can't move my arms.
Is that better?
It's getting better.
Would you like some tea?
Yes, please.
Here you are. Now you can stay on the mattress, but don't move. If you do, I'll know.
He let me stay on the mattress that day. And he gave me a chance to think. I knew that screaming wasn't going to do any good. I thought, if I talked to him, make him realise I was human, it would make it more difficult for him to kill me. I was determined to try. It was my best chance of staying alive. And after that, he was always very calm and seemed to trust me.
Stephanie Slater was very lucky to be alive. If it hadn't been for her temperament, I think she could have very well been killed. She didn't panic. She was compliant. She did as she was told by the kidnapper. In due course, she became extremely important to him as a person, and I think that that's what kept her alive. So much so that I was able to advise the investigating officers that after her release there was a very good chance that the offender would try to make some sort of contact, either with her or with other people involved in the investigation.
A letter from the man who says he kidnapped estate agent Stephanie Slater has been received by the BBC. In it, the kidnapper expresses deep remorse over Stephanie's ordeal, but says he was not responsible for the murder of Julie Dart.
We felt, and I discussed it with Paul Britton, and he felt that there would be a possibility that he would seek to make contact again in some way. So we then had to cover that possibility, and it wasn't just in physical security of her home, but obviously in terms of giving her protection while she was moving about in case he tried to take the opportunity perhaps of approaching her in the local supermarket or whatever.
Steph, let's talk about your last day in captivity. I need to know exactly what happened.
In the morning, he told me that this was going to be the day of the drop, and that afterwards I'd be free. Am I definitely going home today?
Yes. I'm going out now. I've got a lot of calls to make and things to do.
When will you be back?
Sometime between 8 and 9 this evening, and then you'll be free. Right, take your blindfold off, but keep your eyes closed. I want a picture to remember you by.
Then he put me back in the box. That day seemed to go on forever. And by 9, when he wasn't back, I began to get frantic. I thought something must have gone wrong. He's not coming back. Nobody knows I'm here. I'm going to die. I struggled, but I couldn't get free. So I decided I wasn't going to starve to death. I thought, I'll commit suicide. I'll suffocate myself with a pillow. Then, at about 11:15, I heard him coming back.
Is that you?
Yes?
Did you get the money?
Yes?
Oh, please, let me out of here.
I'm coming.
Did everything go all right? Is it all okay?
Yes, except my mate fell off his bike 3 times because of the weather.
Can I go? Are you going to take me home now?
And then he put me in the car at about 11:15, and we drove back to Birmingham.
Steph, let's talk about his mate. Were you ever aware of him?
He did mention him a couple of times, but I was only ever in contact with one man.
The information that was coming from was absolutely vital. The officers, after it had been analysed by the intelligence cell, were in receipt of that information as quickly as we could get it to them. They were like bits of a jigsaw puzzle that were painting a picture. She was absolutely brilliant.
In the morning, he would arrive at about 8 o'clock. I could tell because the radio always switched itself on at about this time. It was on all day long, always on Radio 2.
Breakfast, she remembers having porridge because it was cooked in a microwave, and she remembers distinctly the ping when
During the day, I could hear banging and hammering. Occasionally, I heard people visiting. He was very interested in railways, and he had a train badge on one of his jackets.
And there was a telephone in the premises. Although it only rang 2 or 3 times, she was certain it was an old-fashioned one.
Wooden beams on the ceiling, and from time to time, I heard a bell which sounded like it could have come from an old-fashioned cash register.
Police have issued an artist's impression of the kidnapper of the Birmingham estate agent Stephanie Slater.
The clue offered by police is an impression of a railway badge worn on the man's jacket.
The car was seen in street lights and has been identified by a witness as an old-style Metro, perhaps 10 or 12 years old, which was vermilion red.
After many hours of interviews, Stephanie Slater has provided detectives with a wealth of valuable
With
information.
Stephanie's debriefing over, preparations had been made to put the jigsaw clues together for the public in a considered package, with new information from Stephanie herself, the psychologist's profile of the offender, the times he'd been away from home, and finally, the biggest clue of all.
On BBC Crimewatch this evening, we will also be releasing a tape of the man's voice. Copies of that tape will be available from the police headquarters here at Lloyd House at 9:30 p.m. tonight, at the same time as it is made available on Crimewatch. I had a special feeling in the fact that, if you like, this was our main chance. You've got a massive inquiry. We'd had a long investigation in relation to Julie's murder, which you could regard as one bite of the cherry. There'd been the kidnap and the ransom drop, which you can regard as a second bite of the cherry in relation to Stephanie Slater. and we got nowhere with those, and if you like, this was perhaps our third bite at the cherry.
Good evening. Tonight, once again...
The package that was going out on Crimewatch, really we had to be very optimistic that we were going to get a result. Our incident room number hadn't been given out, so I wasn't expecting a call particularly to Millgarth Incident Room. But of course I knew that there would be a very high volume of calls going to Birmingham and to the overflow facility at Bradford.
Julie Dart, Incident Room, DC Greenwood.
I've just heard a recording of the voice, and I know who it is.
Can you give me his name, please?
His name's Michael Sams. I used to be married to him. I'm certain it's him. You don't need to look any further.
And can you give me your name, please?
Susan Oak. I live at Riddlesden, near Keighley. You've got to believe me, I know it's him.
I felt like I was betraying my children because I knew that this was their father, and I knew it was going to hurt them, and I knew it was going to hurt me, but it was something I had to do. So it's mixed emotions because I was thinking of his mother and his wife. Every emotion it's possible to feel, you feel all at once, but you know that you've got to do it, so you just get on and do it.
I saw him a few days ago at a family funeral, and he was driving that red Metro. He even refused to give me a lift in it.
And what else makes you think that it's him?
Well, I've seen the picture in the paper, and I thought it was similar. And I know he's a railway fanatic. But until I actually heard the voice, I didn't think it could possibly be him, because nobody's ever mentioned a limp. Why haven't you ever publicised that he's got a limp?
What do you mean?
About 13 years ago, he had to have his leg amputated. He's only got one leg.
I didn't think they believed me. I was so frustrated that I knew without a second's doubt it was him. And of course, now I realise that they must be used to people ringing up and giving information. But I knew it was him. And they were so calm about it. And I was so angry that they didn't immediately get up and go and arrest him.
At no time had there been any mention of a limp. It was not mentioned in Stephanie's statement at all. Therefore, from our hopes being high, they just went down a notch. That perhaps this wasn't as good as it could have been, until Tim turned round and said, look, the best burglar I know has got no legs at all. So I just turned round and said, right, sort it out.
Hello?
Mrs. Sams?
Yeah?
From the West Yorkshire Police, sorry to bother you.
Oh, you're here about the Crimewatch programme, aren't you? You said you might call. Well, because of the Metro.
Is your husband in?
No, he's at his work.
Where does he work?
At T&M Tools in Newark.
As we were talking, I saw masses of railway memorabilia. There was a motorcycle. There was a fish tank. It all pointed to the fact this could well be our man. We raced into Newark, hoping that she hadn't warned him. We didn't want him to escape. We didn't want him to dispose of any evidence. The first thing we noticed was the sloping path down to his workshop. The Metro was parked nearby. There was a sign saying T&M Tools. It was stencilled. And then, of course, there was the big sliding doors on the heavy metal runners. Hello? Is anybody in?
Hello?
We're from the West Yorkshire Police. Can we come through?
Yes, I've been expecting you. What is it you want?
We're investigating the murder of Julianne Dart and the kidnapping of Stephanie Slater. I'm Detective Sergeant Grogan, this is Detective Sergeant Leach, and this is DC Greenwood. As soon as we walked in, we noticed everything that Stephanie mentioned in her statement. The beam, the old telephone, the microwave, the radio. Let's see.
What station is this radio tuned to?
Radio 2, I have it on all day.
I'm arresting you for the murder of Julie Dart and the kidnapper Stephanie Slater. You're not obliged to say anything unless you wish to do so. What you say may be given in evidence. Empty your pockets out.
You've got the wrong man here. You're making a big mistake.
The only thing that wasn't immediately apparent was the old till. It was only when the door was opened that the bell sounded, and that tied everything up for us.
Well, quite frankly, I didn't believe them. I said, is this a wind-up? Are you on a Vodafone? Ring me back. I needed time to think, really, and when Tim Grogan rang me back a short time later, he went through the points, and then I was convinced.
I want you to wait out in the holding area. Will you go with this officer, and I'll speak to you later.
I don't think he'd expected to be arrested. He was pale and distressed. He was taken to the holding area prior to being placed in the cells when...
I kidnapped Stephanie Slater, but I didn't murder Julie Dart. You'll find £19,000 at the workshop with my confession.
Well, the important thing was that at that stage I'd got to get that reply onto the detention sheet, and I'd got to get Sams to sign it, and I'd got to get him to make the same admission to the sergeant as he'd made to me.
I understand that you've just said something to Sergeant Grogan. Are you prepared to repeat to me what you've just told him?
I've done the kidnapping, but I've not done the murder. I promised Stephanie that she'd go home, and she did.
Police at Newark in Nottinghamshire are questioning a man about the kidnapping of the Birmingham estate agent Stephanie Slater. His arrest followed the broadcast of a recording of the kidnapper's voice on the BBC last night.
I parked my car, then took the bike and drove back to the drop site. When I got there, I took my bike down the embankment. I was late and I slipped as I went down. Then I waited under the bridge for Watts to arrive.
What time was this?
About 8 o'clock. I was worried because I'd promised Stephanie I'd be back by 9.
What happened then?
I waited under the bridge. I could hear Watts' car. He was late too. I was right underneath when he put the money in the wooden drawer. Then I heard him go. For a few minutes, I did nothing. There was absolute silence. Then, when I was sure he hadn't been followed, I tugged on the cord and the drawer came down. The money was all in bits in plastic bags. I packed it up and set off on my bike. Half a mile further on, I stopped to check and see if there were any bugs. There weren't, so I drove back to the car, then went back to release Stephanie.
Where is the rest of the money?
I buried it.
You've buried it?
Yes.
Where is it now?
I can't say where it is at the moment.
Well, is there someone else involved?
No, I carried out the whole thing entirely by myself.
Once Sams was arrested, he was admitting Stephanie Slater. But apart from similar fact evidence, we had no hard evidence against him for the Julie Dart murder. And we had to, as a matter of urgency, make inquiries amongst his family, his friends, associates, and try and connect him with some of our lines of inquiry.
OK, Cal, would you like to start by telling us when you first met Michael Sams?
I met Michael in about 1972 when he approached me to sell double glazing for him.
But what kind of man was Sams?
In 1974, 75, 76, he was a quiet man, never bothered with anybody really except his wife and family. Worked 16 hours a day. I found him to be a nice guy. He also sort of had another side to him, and that's one of the reasons I've rung you. He always admired people like the great train robbers, Nielsen, master criminals in effect, but always thought that he could do it better. He always thought that he could commit the perfect crime.
Did Sams ever discuss with you how he would commit that perfect crime?
Well, actually, one day while we were in the cellars at Oakfield, he was messing about with the model railway that he had. On the way up, I asked him if he wanted the room on the right rendering. He said, no, that's for the hostage. I said, you know, hostage. He then went on to explain that he had a perfect kidnap plot, and that's where the hostage was going to be kept.
We watched the Crimewatch programme together. When the picture came on, he said that could have been me 10 years ago.
Did he say anything when they played the voice?
He just said it sounded like a Lincolnshire accent. I said to him, "You've got a metro and you live near a railway line. It's a good job you've got a tin leg."
Apparently he did 9 months for a car theft in 1978, which was his first offence. It was whilst he was in prison that his right knee developed a tumour, and it was then that he had to have his leg amputated.
Any Leeds connections?
Yes, he served his sentence at Armley Prison in Leeds. Then when he came out, he lived locally with his second wife until that marriage broke up a couple of years later.
Are you connected with the kidnap and murder of Julie Dart?
I can categorically state I never knew Julie Dart. I've never seen her or talked to her.
We believe that you held Julie in your workshop.
No, there's no truth in that.
And that unlike Stephanie, she took a blindfold off and had to be killed.
No, there's no truth in that whatsoever. I didn't have anything to do with Julie Dart. And what I'm waiting for is the evidence that links the two cases together.
In fact, for days, a carefully prepared team had been examining the kidnapper's lair. Blue bricks were found, and they were obviously unusual ones. Amid the jumble, there were long strands of human hair, and on an old curtain, what looked like a diluted stain of blood.
Nick?
Yeah. What you got?
Tuft of brown fibres.
It must have been going through Sam's mind that we were going to find evidence that would link him with the Julie Dart murder, because next morning he called for the interviewing officers and he changed his story.
One of the things I said at the start that no one has picked up is that £20,000 was for another's help. Well, on the Wednesday, an accomplice picked me up and took me to all the boxes where I left the messages and telephoned Kevin Watts. Then he took me to the bridge where the money was to be dropped and left me there. After that, everything was exactly as I described it. I drove along the Dove Valley Trail back to where the car was parked, and we set off back to my workshop. On the way, an argument developed with this other person.
Would you like me to continue reading your statement?
Yes.
As we were driving back, I said, "Christ, I've forgotten to fill my car up. I won't make it to Birmingham and back." My partner replied, "What the hell are you on about? We're going to kill her now and I'll dispose of the body." I thought he was joking.
Piss off, I said, she's going home. No, she isn't, he said. She'll identify you. Dead people don't identify. A heated argument broke out, during which I received a cut wrist from a knife. In the end, I agreed to give him all the money in exchange for Stephanie's life.
Accepting around £20,000. I also promised not to identify him and not to tell the police where the money was until I had been charged. Are you content that I now hand this to the police?
Yeah.
Right. Well, obviously the first question is, we'll require you to name him.
Oh, I couldn't do that.
Why not?
Because if I did that, he might well take it out on someone else, on Stephanie herself, and I wouldn't want to take the risk.
We're asking you to take that risk.
I'm not interested in how long I get. I'm not interested in what I get.
Michael, that's not your decision.
No, I won't take the risk.
I believe Michael Sams was hoping that the second man would be a convenient way of explaining away any evidence that we had to connect him with the Julie Dart murder. But in actual fact, he was backing himself into a corner.
In a previous letter, the fax letter, you said that you know the man that murdered Julie Dart and who tried to extort money from British Rail.
That's correct, yes.
Is this the same man who's got all the money from the Slater kidnap, your accomplice?
It is, yes.
But you've always said that these cases could never be linked with the Stephanie Slater case. You've always been adamant about that.
Yes.
But now you're saying the cases are linked.
Now they can be linked.
Because you say so.
That's it.
Before, he hadn't been prepared to answer any direct questions about the Julie Dart murder. But in linking the cases himself, he'd backed down. It proved to be a very important admission.
There was a certain arrogance about the way that he spoke. He exuded a sense of sort of superiority. He wouldn't accept facts that were presented to him unless it came from an expert. And that soon became the area which we concentrated on.
We identified hair found in the workshop which could have come from Stephanie Slater, but also some hairs which could have come from Julie Dart. we also found a watery bloodstain on the bottom of a curtain, which appeared to have soaked into the curtain when someone was trying to clean up. This blood was subsequently shown to be of the same group as Julie Dart and different from the blood sample of Michael Sams, his wife and Stephanie Slater. We also found from the workshop some mustard-coloured tufts of carpet fibres, which were at the laboratory shown to be indistinguishable from the fibres and tufts that we'd recovered earlier from the sheet and the rope which had been used to wrap up the body of Julie Dart.
It's impossible. Just impossible.
Impossible?
Impossible for them to be the same.
So what explanation can you give?
I say it's impossible.
But forensically, if it proves...
Well, yes, yes.
What are you going to say then?
I don't know. I've no idea.
And then perhaps you're going to start...
No, I'm not going to change my story one bit.
But that's exactly what he did. He would go away, think about it, realise he couldn't get away with the explanation in court, come back, present some explanation which usually involved the other man, and he did that time and time again.
I'm going to ask you again. Can you explain to me how carpet fibres found in your workshop are identical to fibres found on the rope and on the sheet in which Julie's body was found?
It obviously means that at some time the sheet and the rope must have been in my workshop, and then someone took them.
By someone, do you mean your accomplice?
That's it.
During the course of the interviews, we asked for handwriting samples, which quite surprisingly Michael Sams gave. They were taken down by a motorcyclist to Birmingham, and Paul Rimmer did his comparisons between those and the letters.
I found a number of significant similarities. For example, the letters D were flattened in shape and had the downstroke towards the middle of the letter, in both the question letters and the specimens. The letters F, I could see, were done in just one stroke, again, in both the question letters and the specimens. And the G's had a characteristic S shape. From these similarities, and others I found, I was certain that Michael Sams had written the letters in the Julie Dart case.
You will remember yesterday morning you supplied me with samples of your handwriting.
I did.
Those samples have been examined by a forensic scientist, and it is his opinion that you wrote the York letter and the Coventry letter.
Well, I thought that's what you were going to lead up to, but I definitely didn't write them. I'll always maintain that.
The forensic scientist is a handwriting expert.
No, I'm sorry.
He's examined them and said you wrote them.
Well, if he's right, he's right. But I say I didn't.
There are also 14 identical spelling mistakes. How do you account for that?
I've no explanation at all.
No explanation at all?
No.
Coincidence?
Coincidence.
And once again, Sams went away and thought about it and came back and changed his story.
Have you had any more thoughts on the 3 handwritten letters that we showed you?
Yes. Well, I did write them. I told you a lie.
So you did write those letters?
Yes, I did. I was used. He made me write them. He was using me for a pillock.
But why did you do it?
It seemed like a good idea at the time.
But you must have known he'd killed someone. It's in the letters you now admit you wrote.
What difference does that make?
Doesn't the cold-blooded murder of a young girl have any effect on you?
No. I'd never like to think that I'd killed her in my mind. I'd not like to think that. I don't care what the rest of the world thinks.
An important part of the game that Michael Sams was playing was to create an image of himself that was very positive, rather like the Raffles sort of offender. Now, the person who had committed the brutal murder of Julie Dart and this sort of abduction clearly didn't fit with that, and so he created someone else, a dustbin, if you like, into which he could attribute all of these unacceptable characteristics of himself.
The evidence against Sams was overwhelming, but what was outstanding was the money. Sams had claimed that the other man had the money. If we could find the money, it would destroy his defence once and for all.
The theory of finding the money was based on 2 central facts. One, that he buried it alone, and secondly, that at some stage, Sams, because it was all part of a game, would tell us and give us clues. Sams always denied burying the money at the side of his house. There was a hole there. He said he prepared the hole, but he never used it. because the other man didn't want it to be buried there. Once she'd discounted the other man, then Sams had no reason not to bury it there. I think what happened then was, as pressure increased with the release of the photo fit, the release of the Red Metro, and his voice was going to be released, Sams knew that at some stage he was going to be visited. He then decided that as the pressure increased, he'd got to move it to another area that he was familiar with.
The question was where he moved the money to. Ironically, it was Michael Sams who pointed us in the right direction.
In July last year, 2 witnesses saw a man with a walking stick on a private road less than a mile away from where Julie Dart's body was found. Was that you?
No.
Another witness saw a red Metro on a disused railway line which runs past a field where Julie Dart's body was found. Was that you?
No. I told you, I don't know that area at all. The only time I've ever visited anywhere near there was when I went train spotting at a place called Stoke Summit.
This is where Julie Dart's body was found, and 1.7 miles away is Stoke Summit.
Which is where he said he was train spotting.
Yes, but the strange thing about it is, it's the East Coast line. It goes right past his house. If he wanted a train spot, he could have train spotted at home.
And he says he was there after releasing Stephanie Slater. Do you know exactly when that was?
Well, it was foggy and drizzly. It could only have been the 19th of February, the day before Crimewatch, the day the Red Metro went in the paper. I think he could well have been burying the money.
Alan, you've just gone over a target. Mark it, move on to the next line.
OK, we've got a target here.
Right, gentlemen, will you dig there, please?
The search began on the Tuesday. We'd identified a number of likely points, working on the principle that he would have to have a fixed point, a tree, a post or something, to be able to identify where he'd buried it. Nothing was found on the Tuesday. On the Wednesday, generally people were flagging. That was the last day that we'd booked the ground probing radar. We knew we hadn't much time left, and I think hopes of finding it were fading.
Starter blind.
OK, you've just gone over the target there.
Very large target there, just below the surface.
There's a bit of dimension to this one. Different to the others we've seen.
Gentlemen, will you come across here, please, and dig on the mark?
Right, end line.
And after a very short period of time, up went the shout.
Found it, sir! Found it! I think we've got it!
Right, OK, let's have a look.
We were highly delighted. I personally thought it was all the money. It seemed the right package, and I thought there was £140,000 there. We got it sealed, we got the scene forensically examined, but we weren't going to count it because, quite obviously, we would have disturbed the evidence.
The following morning, Michael Sams responded to a piece that he'd read in the newspaper that we'd found the money, and contacted us through the prison staff and said, will you come to see me? You've only found half of it. We then were a little bit disconsolate because, of course, it still left open the possibility that the other man could have the other half.
So we went down, had a talk to him. He told us that he'd packaged the money up, but the other man had buried it, and though he didn't know specifically where the other package was, he believed it may be in the same vicinity.
I arranged that we should go back there the Friday morning, and a small group of officers, and we started digging. And 16 feet away from the first find, I'd been prodding away and found an area of soft ground, said to them, lads, dig here.
Just a minute, this looks like it.
He stuck the fork into the ground, and up came the money.
It totally knocked the second man 30 for 6. If there was a second man, he'd certainly had plenty of opportunity, 9 months, to have gone back and got that money.
And, of course, that then was, for me, the greatest moment, because I knew then that we would destroy him totally.
Michael Sams maintained his innocence of Julie's murder throughout his trial, but was found guilty on every charge and given 4 life sentences. 4 days later, he changed his story once again and admitted that he'd murdered Julie Dart.
All that going through it, and he's waited till afterwards, and he's confessed. Because he felt sorry for me. You know, it's just the cheek of the man. You know, he felt sorry for me. You know, but it's not me. I wanting to feel sorry for it with Julie. You know, and he still felt no remorse for Julie.
No qualms, no remorse, heartless at the grief you have caused. When Stephanie Slater was kidnapped, I have not the slightest doubt that she was in desperate and mortal danger. And if it had seemed necessary to you, she, like Julie Dart, would have been murdered in cold blood. Her survival, in my judgment, is entirely due to her own remarkable moral courage and the unostentatious display of qualities of character that have excited the admiration and respect of everyone in this court, from the jury to the judge.